To the ancient Greeks, the ultimate ambition was to be worshipped as a god. Julius Caesar achieved that status. But we're in the 21st century. Surely we're above such things. False. If you go to Washington, D.C., you'll find the apotheosis of Washington, a testament to the desire to elevate heroes to divine status. Every nation has its gods. So let's ask ourselves this question. Who is the god of England? The empire on which the sun never set? The answer lies at the heart of London. In the center of Trafalgar Square stands a big statue of Admiral Horatio Nelson, a hero among heroes, a leader so colossal he chased after Napoleon himself. But gods aren't born. They have to earn their title. Historians write, he was the god of war, the guardian of nations, the man to call in times of great distress, one of the greatest leaders of all time. This would have sounded like a fantasy to a boy born in the most remote corner of England. Born in the quiet town called Norfolk in 1758, Horatio Nelson wasn't destined for greatness. His father, a defeated clergyman, Reverend Edmund Nelson, was a man who believed life was against him. His mother, however, came from a wealthy, well-connected family, some of whom had even been prime ministers. When Horatio was just 4, his mother died. His uncle, Captain Maurice Suckling, a war hero married but with no son, took a paternal interest in the boy. Uncle Maurice's tales of naval exploits ignited a spark in young Horatio. At 12, with his uncle's support, he joined the Royal Navy as a midshipman. His uncle puts him in charge of a little boat, not a real position, but that puts him in charge of something where he starts learning about decision-making, good judgment, and leadership. On his first mission in the Arctic, young Horatio snuck out at night to try to chase a polar bear and bring the skin back with him. He tried to shoot it, but his gun didn't work. Luckily, the ship's big cannons scared the bear away. This gets him in trouble, but also his uncle recognized the bravery of the boy. On his second mission to India, he contracted malaria, returning home sick and anxious. Facing his officer's exams, he experienced a profound vision, a radiant orb that filled him with patriotic fervor and extreme ambition. He passed his exams and became a lieutenant. In 1777, at just 18, he was promoted to lieutenant and sent to Jamaica during the American Revolution, where he fought against the French and Spanish. Despite his youth, Nelson's bravery and skill stood out. He captured enemy ships, earning himself the respect of his crew and superiors. By 1779, he was promoted to captain and went on to capture a Spanish fort in Nicaragua, his first big victory. But it wasn't all victories for Horatio. Malaria struck, forcing him back to Britain to recover. Yet Nelson's spirit couldn't be broken. Even when peacetime slowed his career, he never gave up, constantly badgering his superiors for a command. In 1792, war with France was looming, and Nelson was called back to service. He quickly became known for his relentless pursuit of excellence, engaging in dangerous missions like the blockade of Corsica, where he was wounded in the right eye. Losing his sight didn't stop him. Instead, it drove him to be even more determined to lead his country to victory. The battle against Napoleon, a clash of titans. By the late 1790s, Napoleon Bonaparte was becoming one of the most powerful military leaders in Europe, and his ambitions reached far beyond the borders of France. Nelson found himself directly in Napoleon's path during the Mediterranean campaigns. Napoleon, looking to expand his empire, had plans to invade Egypt. The aim was to disrupt Britain's trade routes to India and weaken British influence in the region. In 1798, Napoleon set sail with a large army and fleet, and Nelson was tasked with preventing him from reaching Egypt. At the time, the French fleet was anchored in a seemingly invincible position off the coast of Egypt near Alexandria. They thought they were safe, but Nelson saw an opportunity to strike. With boldness and brilliance, Nelson did not hesitate. He and his fleet of ships approached the French fleet under the cover of night on August 1st, 1798. Napoleon's commanders thought the British wouldn't be able to attack from the position they were in, but Nelson found a gap in the shoals, a dangerous stretch of water that others feared to navigate. As the British fleet advanced, darkness fell, but the battle itself lit up the night sky. The thunder of cannons and the flash of gunpowder illuminated the chaos. Nelson's ships, expertly trained, attacked the French ships from both sides, surprising them and forcing the French fleet into confusion. The battle raged on, and the French flagship, L'Orient, was set on fire, exploding in a magnificent blaze that rocked the sea. Nelson's ships destroyed or captured 11 of the 17 French ships, leaving the French Navy navy crippled and Napoleon stranded in Egypt. This victory was crucial not only for Britain's control of the Mediterranean, but also for halting Napoleon's grand designs for expansion. Nelson's victory at the Battle of the Nile was a turning point in the war, and his name became synonymous with naval supremacy. Despite being wounded for the third time in his career during the battle, Nelson's leadership shone through. He simply had the ability to inspire his men, even in the face of great adversity. Nelson's legacy, the national hero. After his victory at the Nile, Nelson became a national hero. However, despite the accolades, he remained deeply human. While the British public celebrated his victories, Nelson was a man who struggled with his personal life. His marriage to Fanny was in turmoil, largely due to his affair with Emma Hamilton, the wife of Sir William Hamilton, the British ambassador to Naples. Despite this scandal, Emma and Nelson's love affair was an open secret, and Nelson continued to battle at sea with unmatched dedication. His personal challenges didn't slow him down. If anything, they made him more determined. Nelson's leadership became legendary. He led from the front, showing immense courage and gaining the trust of his men. His famous words, "England expects that every man will do his duty," during the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805, were not just orders. They were an expression of his deep belief in his sailors. They respected him, not only for his skills in battle, but for his deep care for them. The Battle of Trafalgar remains his most iconic moment. Facing a combined French and Spanish fleet, Nelson used his tactical genius to split the enemy line, attacking them from both sides. This bold move turned the tide in favor of the British. The battle was fierce, and although Nelson's ship, the Victory, was engaged in direct combat with the French flagship, Redoutable, it was during this engagement that Nelson was struck by a bullet, which severed his spine. Nelson's final moments on the deck of Victory were not of fear or regret, but of fulfillment. He knew that Britain had won, and as he lay dying, he uttered his final words, "Thank God I have done my duty." He died at the age of 47, just as the British fleet had achieved an overwhelming victory, capturing 22 ships without losing a single one of their own. A hero remembered, the death that shaped history. Nelson's death at Trafalgar set off a period of deep national mourning in Britain, a loss so great it was comparable to the grief that followed Princess Diana's death nearly 200 years later. His body was brought back to England and given a state funeral at St. Paul's Cathedral, where thousands of people lined the streets to pay their respects. The nation had lost its greatest hero, but his memory would live on forever. Trafalgar Square in London, where Nelson's statue stands proudly on a towering column, remains a lasting testament to his legacy. His life, filled with battles, love, personal struggles, and national triumphs, continues to inspire people to this day. Horatio Nelson's name is etched in history as one of the greatest leaders and naval commanders the world has ever known. From his remarkable victories against Napoleon to his courage at Trafalgar, he will forever be remembered as Britain's most beloved sailor.